humility and appreciation, and with a great sense that they belong to my ancestors, especially the women in my family. Thank you.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. We have a dynamic guest for you today. This is our first show of the year, and I think it is quite appropriate that we first acknowledge the good Lord. So we're going to ask our guest to start us off with prayer. Is that all right with you, Doctor?
Oh, prayer is always appropriate. God, our Heavenly Father, in this day, we ask that you step with us into a new year, that you continue to sustain us, bless us, but most importantly, protect us against dangers seen and unseen. We ask also that the power of your love empower us so that we become the light in this world of darkness. We know that you can do it. You've done it before. You've done it in others. Now we ask that you do it in us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And God bless this radio show.
Oh, man, Lord, bless you, man.
You know, the power of media is something.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even watch the news. Let me take away can't. I don't watch the news, the local news. I don't like the images I see.
Yeah.
When I look on one particular station's the thing online, the website, I see black person did this wrong, black person did that wrong, black person hemmed up in this, black person questioned about it. And it's like, okay, they supposed to cover the whole state. The state of Maryland is 30% black.
Yeah.
Baltimore City is 65% black, but Baltimore County is only 30% black. Are you telling me that we're the only ones in the news? We're the only ones that break law, that make mistakes?
Well, one of the things that's clear is that Baltimore has had a long history of media advocacy. I mean, I go way back, that, Doni, I go way back to when we sued WMAR back in 1967. Then we also came back with WBAL. It always has been a struggle to ensure that media met the needs, tastes, and interests of people in the local community. Unfortunately, the federal government kind of took some of those protections away, but that has always been a struggle. Now, the beauty is that media, electronic media, print media has now been diversified because of the internet. So you can have voices like yours and others that can step in, command audiences, communicate truth that counterbalances some of the images that you got to keep in mind. I mean, basically what had happened was that during the 70s, there was a group that came in with this eyewitness news concept. It was the Robert Magnin organization. And they basically across the country have implemented this eyewitness news concept that basically says shock and awe. Shock and awe is what attracts eyes to your station, to your community, to your network. And so we've got to counteract that because there's so much good news going on, so many positive images going on, so much. I was just watching the other day and I saw the documentary. It happened to be on the CNN, Luther Vandross. Can you imagine the power of an individual who said that I have an innate talent and I can present that talent to the world? And we're seeing it over and over again in many instances. And so I'm very optimistic that we will continue to resist that which seeks to destroy us, to deny us, to detain us, to deter us from the goals that we have as a community.
As you mentioned Luther, and I got a text yesterday evening, are you watching Luther? And I said, no, I'm working. But I interviewed Billy Murphy 2 weeks ago. And one of the things Billy said in the interview is that they'll give us entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
We can dance, we can sing, we can catch a ball. They'll give us that. But medicine, politics, media, law, business, you know, there's always this ceiling on it. As long as we tap dancing, smiling, telling jokes, singing, dancing, that's acceptable.
Yeah. You know what? But I would say, I do have to concur with Billy. Billy is an example of how we utilize law as a way to address inequities, but also show that we can be proficient in the corporate community through the use of law. He demonstrates that well. But I just think I look at, and I'm a part of the Harbor Bank Network, and I just look at what the amazing work that Harbor Bank is doing, uncelebrated, making strategic investments in communities and neighborhoods, uplifting businesses and persons. You know, so I see amazing things going on. But you're right, Hakeem Al-Budi, way back when, he looked at this typology of white power structure against black power structure, and he says in the white community, basically you have the business person as the leader, and then the support systems are education, politics, and other supports inside of religion. Inside of our community, says you got the religious leader as the leader, with the supports being business, education, and politics. And he says there's an inequity. And I think what we've got to do is that we've got to realize that if the measure is going to be money, we'll never win that. But if the measure is morals and character, we win that every day.
You said so much there.
I'm an old man, you know, so a bit of rap.
I think of Dr. King, and this has been on my mind lately, when he said that we are the moral conscience of America.
Oh yeah. Well, Dr. King could have taken that. He could have taken that one step further. People of African ancestry introduced spirituality to religion. But for our understanding of ancestral connectedness, there would not be spirituality even in organized religion. We introduced that. And so we've always been a part of this connective tissue and fabric between what should be and what is. And we've always been the ones that have advocated for, pressed for the more, let me show you the more excellent way. And I think we can never retreat from that responsibility that we have as a people, as a culture. And in some ways that they chip at that and try to diminish that. But no, we have the responsibility of showing the more excellent way, because we have connective tissue with the divine. Very powerful. It's been over time. We can support it in many ways.
As you talk, I think of Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire.
Oh, yeah.
Where he wrote that the oppressed tend to take on the characteristics of the oppressor. I look at second and third generation Latinos and Asians. Their children are more Americanized, and where their culture is more communalistic, their youth are like other American youth, more individualistic.
Yeah.
Straying from tradition.
Yeah. That is the challenge that we have, is that the oppressive nature of our structure does not cause us to become complicit with it. Instead, our job is to be resistant of it. Scripture says to be in it, but not of it. And so, yes, that has always been a tension, creative tension. That's always been a struggle. The beauty about our faith and our people is that we have so many examples of people who have been resistors, who've been advocates, who've been agitators, who have spoken against. One of the things that's amazing, and you know this as well, we're going to have in Baltimore in February a gentleman who is chairman of Worldwide Technologies, now seen as one of the richest African Americans in America. David Stewart. Now think about this. Forbes magazine has him as a net worth of $11 billion. But when you compare that to an Elon Musk, or you compare that to a Jeff Bezos, it really is not is not that much significant in terms of personal capital gains and capital wealth. Now, when you take our community and you aggregate that, and you talk about us as an aggregated community, now you start to begin to get at wealth. And we haven't yet understood how to harness that, how to organize that, how to direct that. And that continues to be the challenge.
This is my second book, I Am Black Wall Street.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
When we did do it,
oh, yeah,
they came after us.
There's no question. No question.
When we do build a Tulsa, the 500 or so black towns in East Texas alone, Richmond's Black Wall Street, Durham's Black Wall Street, they come and attack.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, the battle is, the battle is it's always going to be around economics, because that's what they control. They control money. They print money. I mean, just imagine. I mean, I'm in my lifetime. Money was guaranteed by the federal government through basically certificates, silver certificates. There was value for the dollar that you had. And when you saw the dollar, you saw that it was backed by some material, some gold, some silver, some wealth. They moved that, man, to create money that seems out of nowhere, so it doesn't have value. And so for us as people, we had land as value, and we knew that land was value. That's when you talk about Durham, you talk about Tulsa, you talk about Richmond, even Baltimore. We control the earth, we control land, and they have attacked that increasingly, attacked that directly, because in America and throughout the world, controlling land and owning land is power. In fact, at one time in America, you weren't an American if you weren't a landowner. So, to cause people of color to not own land is really the antithesis of our struggle for freedom. We have to own land.
So I was talking with an elder yesterday, a mutual friend of ours, about the mayor's report of crime going down, of there being less than 200 murders. And our mutual friend knows these streets like you and I.
Yes, he does.
But he directed me to look at what our Black entrepreneurs, particularly our Black developers, are doing.
Mm-hmm.
He essentially said that, and this is 2025, 10 years ago, Freddie Gray happened.
Right, yeah, my goodness.
And the police took a knee and have taken a knee for a decade. But he told me to look at the Black developers. And so with that in mind, take me back to the day you led hundreds of people to the state office complex.
Yeah, man. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And that was, I think, one of the most powerful moments that I have felt in recent time around community power and community organization. To have some 3,500 people meet there in the 1200 block of Drill Avenue, and to march almost 1,000 people from Drew Hill Avenue to State Center around who's going to participate in the economic benefits of state investment in state-owned land. That should not go singularly to developers. The community should have a role in that. The community should be able to play a part in that. The community should have investment in that. The community should have jobs that are derived from that. And we fought that fight only to find that over the years, now keep in mind now, that has been almost now, 15 years ago? Over the years, that project, which would have been a tipping point project in West Baltimore, still is undone. We talk about a dream deferred. And so those young people that we had trained, we've taken them through 2 weeks of training around job skills, took them to give them the hope that you can have an opportunity of a better way, found that lifeline that they were reaching for has been taken away. So there's a lot of disappointment in our community. There's a lot of angst in our community because people don't see opportunity in our community. Let me give you an example. I'm involved in investment through new market tax credits in a national way. The folks in Selma, Sumter, South Carolina, asked a group of us and others to come there to create jobs. So we went to Sumter, South Carolina, and we were able to attract a Continental Tire plant. That Continental Tire plant was 1 million square feet of gross factory warehouse space. And in it, they created 1,500 jobs right in the middle of Sumter, South Carolina. There was an investment of our group made an investment about $25 million. There was $100 and some million project. What happened was the starting income prior to that hourly rate was $8.10 an hour. After this project, the starting income became $15, almost doubled because of this project. 1,500 people got hired. If you went to Sumter, South Carolina now, you will find a whole change in the context of that community because there was a concentrated effort to create jobs in the community. That's what we need in Baltimore. We need our own Tide Point that you have in Baltimore County. We need where there is a concentrated effort to create jobs in the center of our community. And to me, that's how you measure progress. How many jobs have we created in our community? How many millionaires have you created in our community? How much money is circulating in our community?
That's particularly meaningful to me. I remember going to Morehouse, like your good friend Todd Yeary.
Sure.
And one of the people I met there was a young man whose family was related to the Firestones. And they had a rubber plantation, if you will, over in, I think, Liberia, somewhere in West Africa. But I think about all of the rubber that comes out of Africa, and we can get to some African-American economic cooperation. But staying on this development piece, you have been aware of the politics. I'm looking at an Alice Toriente. She's always sending me notes, Auntie Alice, of who's running for this particular piece was who's running for DNC, who's running to head the DNC. I think it was 7 white men,
wow,
1 white woman, and 1 Latino man. Now, again, in our community, Baltimore is 9-1 Democrat. State of Maryland is 2-1 Democrat. And you know me, I don't care what party you are in. I want to know what you're going to do for our community. And I guess my question is, we're now moving into, in a few days, inaugurating someone that hardly anybody in Baltimore City was out there holding the banner loud for. I'm sure in surrounding counties, he got some fanfare, but we're now moving into a Republican era with Donald Trump at the helm. Have we put our baskets in the Democratic Party? Have they forgotten about Black people once again, as people like Martin O'Malley want to be chair? First he wants to head Social Security, now he wants to run a DNC. What about us, Dr. Hathaway?
The old Baptist minister once was preaching. He said, it doesn't matter who's in the White House. It doesn't matter who's in the State House. It really doesn't even matter who's in the jailhouse. As long as my God is in the lighthouse, we can make it home. And I think we again have to find ourselves having to discover ourselves once again when we know that the oppressor is obvious. I mean, it is. We don't have to. It's not. He's not hiding anymore. He's obvious. He's right there in front of us, saying to us that those systems that you work to create. When you think about Justice Thurgood Marshall, Clarence Mitchell Jr., and these amazing legal minds out of Baltimore created constructs, voting rights, housing, and all of these other constructs, so that we could have an opportunity in this system. And then now you get a person that's placing people on the court that are rolling those back, that are taking those away. That means we've got to realize that we are in a fight for survival, just as they are. And I sometimes don't think we understand that we are in a fight for survival, where they are saying that you are no longer needed in our system because the labor or the skills that you possess are not skills that we can use. That doesn't mean that we're not valuable. We are valuable because we are God's people. And as a result, we got to understand that our value is in our collective ability to work together, pray together, struggle together, and achieve together. And if we don't discover that again, we're going to find that these forces that are very oppressive will continue to separate us and have us fighting each other instead of fighting the oppressor.
So let me put it differently. Martin O'Malley locked up black people like we were going out of style. He's still around. He wants to head the DNC. Now, I understand what they say Trump is going to do, but we know what O'Malley did. And I'm not putting you on the spot about O'Malley. My question is, are we overly invested in the Democratic Party so that when a Republican does get in there, shouldn't we have the same access to the White House?
Yeah,
or have we handicapped ourselves?
I once got in trouble and might even still be in trouble because people said to me about the Democratic Party. And I said, well, wait a minute. I've never been to a party. Where's the party? I mean, I've never even been to the after party. I mean, so where is the activity that makes up this celebratory event that's called a party? And then I recognized that in many ways, the reason why the participation and voting level is such is that people aren't invited to the party. And so as a result, you don't have that celebratory sense. I remember back in my day, you could say, hey, we're going to have a party over at red light party at XYZ and everybody show up. But now you don't have people showing up because they don't feel that they have a participatory role in what they call a party. And I think that has to change. Now, one of the things I would say about Martin O'Malley is that he'll never forget. I marched, not only did I march, Martin O'Malley was the governor during that time when we marched those persons to the State Center. But the follow up to that was that I took 300 people in 6 buses of 50 to his Christmas party. And these were the folks from the community. And they went to his Christmas party because at that time, the Christmas party was such that you just had an open door. Hey, the State House is open. Come on to my house. It's Christmas. And I took 300 people down there, and he had to stand there with folks from the community and take pictures with him and his wife. And these were the solid earth folks. And they all said to him, remember State Center jobs. And the after fact of that was that they changed the nature. The governor said, we're not going to have any more open door Christmas parties. You're going to have to be on the invitation list after that. In modern times, they've changed that now with Governor Westmore has went back to that open house faction. But he changed that because I took 300 people there. Martin O'Malley has to be held accountable for his management style, his style of politics, for the way that he has functioned and operated. We saw it close up. I saw it in neighborhoods where I had people, young people, that would say to me that, man, that police officer is foul. He makes us lie on the curb. He makes us sit on the sidewalk. And we had a administration during that time that condoned that, supported that, and even projected that on our community. So Martin O'Malley, he's been a unique political individual. I can't say that he's been a political leader for all people.
You said a lot there. One of the pieces I want to ask out of that You said, where is the party?
Yeah, where is it? Have you been there?
I want to say this to you. You know what it is to preach in Baltimore City. You know what it is to walk Druid Hill Avenue.
Mm.
You understand that we have upwardly mobile blacks who are doing very well, who might still come to Baltimore City for church, but they live in Randallstown. But you also know that just across the street are McCullough homes.
Yeah.
Why is it that the few of us, call them the talented 10th, who do make it inside the door, why do they forget and turn their nose up at the rest of us after they get inside the door? Like they don't remember the story of Harriet Tubman. Like they don't know I am my brother's keeper. Like they don't know we're only as strong as the weakest link. Why do what some people call Negroes get inside the door and forget everybody else? What's wrong with us?
You know, I that is a deep psychological analysis of our own sense of self-deprivation and self-hate. You know,
Suppose Harriet Tubman had that attitude.
If any of our leaders, I mean, you grew up in a time, and we grew up in a time where the leadership, Perrin Mitchell, I mean, someone who could have lived anywhere, lived in a neighborhood,
right down the street.
Exactly. I mean, Elijah Cummings in a more modern time could live anywhere, lived in a neighborhood.
To his credit, yes, he did. McCullough Street.
You know, and so when you think about how can you be a shepherd and not have sheep smell on you? You know, how can you not interact with people that are the people that need you the most? You can't be separated from the people and lead them. You gotta get the stuff on you. That's what Rev Dopsy talked about. You gotta get the stuff on you, you know. And so you gotta be in there with them because you gotta feel their pain. You gotta feel their anguish, and the opportunity that you have to speak to broader communities, to speak to other persons. You take their pain with you, so that and that's Elijah Cummings. Your pain has to become your purpose. We've got to take our purpose, which is to change conditions for people. Can you imagine that they are talking about, when you look at our educational system, they are creating what they call mental-cide, where they are systematically destroying the minds and spirit of people in our public education system. I mean, they're not learning like when I learned, when when I went to school, you had to speak in languages. You got to have Latin. You know what I mean? You had to take trigonometry. You had to take algebra. That was not an option. That was the standard. And we've lowered the standards such that people now feel as though we are not a collective people. And in fact, when our leadership separates themselves from us, people now, we got open housing. You can live anywhere you want, and God bless you. But it's kind of tough to like live outside and then come inside and then go back outside to understand the needs and the taste and the pain of people.
We got a comment here from Miss Gwen Levy. You know that America represents 5% of the world's population, yet we have 25% of the incarcerated persons.
Oh my goodness.
Almost 40% of black men. Now, we're only 13% of the population collectively, but black men alone star in the prison movie. You mentioned public education.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We incarcerate almost as many people as China, a country that has 1.3, 1.4 billion people. America only has 400 million. We're the most incarcerating nation on earth. And you mentioned public education. And one thing that sickens me to my core is when I hear people say, and I'm going to say this to the day I die, They say not everybody's made for college. As soon as cat get locked up and go over central booking, he's in a damn classroom, Reverend.
Exactly.
Don't tell me what they can't. I seen dude ride up Pennsylvania Avenue blindfold, one hand behind his back, popping a wheelie, navigating it. You're not going to tell me they can't learn. I remember when they took grades, passing from 70 down to 60.
My goodness.
We're at a point now our children can't even sign their names. But I think about Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, the ancestors who had to learn to read by candlelight when learning to read was a crime. Now we're in a country that people would die to be in, and we've so dummied down our goals, our expectations. Our grandfathers, our grandmothers, they clean white people's floors.
My goodness. You know, it's
we have all of these low goals, these low ambitions, and it bothers me.
Yeah, that was Benjamin Mays. Benjamin Mays said low aim is a sin. But here, let me one of the things we got to understand about the Michelle Alexander wrote about this. We got to understand about the criminal justice system, particularly when you think about prisons. They are seen as economic drivers. To build a prison somewhere is seen as an economic driver. So when you look at rural areas that you find them built in, when you look at exactly, it's a major business there.
Sure.
Exactly, it is an economic driver. So if I make this economic investment, you know, if I need tenants, like I need tenants in housing or tenants in condominiums, I got to have tenants that will pay revenue stream for that investment to yield results. And so the unfortunate thing is that when we privatized and we made prison systems, jails, economic drivers, that showed that we had lost our moral compass. We can make other investments that could yield far better results, but unfortunately, we still make those kinds of investments. And then when you think about education, and part of my responsibility, as you know, I also work with the Union Baptist Harvey Johnson Head Start Center that's been in operation since 1966. We have been a part of persons 3 and 4 year old, training them, developing, equipping them. And I've watched over those years parent participation dissipate. I've watched over those years of attendance slack. When you have persons that are receiving free opportunity for education, our attendance rate should be 99%.
It's not just in Baltimore City, Rev. I saw the same at Deer Park in Owens Mills.
Oh, no
Deer
question.
Park Elementary School. I saw, and we can use whatever excuse we want, but I saw PTA meetings with 6 or 7 people, and I'm talking about a good 15 years ago.
Oh yeah. Well, I would just say no. First of all, let me not be seen as a critique of the Black community. This is not that. I critique a system that creates a dynamic that does not allow people to thrive, that creates a dynamic that doesn't promote people to their best, to become the best that they can be, that oppresses them, that creates barriers for them to achieve. And unfortunately, we got to call that kind of system out that does not allow people to reach their fullest potential.
You know, Boyd Rutherford, former lieutenant governor, he said we should just knock down the Baltimore City public school system and start all over again.
You know,
I look at when Governor Westmore, and I'm not playing either side. Again, I like who helps our community. Sure. I know Westmore has put $28 million in the West North Avenue Development Authority.
It's very strong.
Developed under Hogan, Rutherford. It was financed under Westmore. So again, I don't care who you are, what party you are. I want to know what you're going to do uptown.
Right.
What you gonna do on Druid Hill Avenue? What you gonna do on North Avenue? What you gonna do on Cherry Hill, East North Avenue, Harford Road? Because we have seen a historic investment in the White L, from Johns Hopkins University down to the harbor, over the East Harbor. We've seen the investment. We saw North and Charles develop seemingly overnight.
Yes.
But East Side, West Side, man, we've been in a desert, and they wonder why our kids go down to Fells Point and hang out. But damn, put the money in our neighborhoods, and maybe they would hang out in our neighborhoods. We don't even have a rec in Sandtown. We got all of these black elected officials, but we don't have a recreation center in Sandtown.
I grew up in Drill Avenue. I was born in Providence Hospital. I grew up on the 1200 block of Drill Avenue. I served at Pennsylvania Avenue. I served AME Zion Church. I served at Union Baptist Church. Much of my career, even though I've traveled the world, much of my career has been right in the community which I serve. We were always a people that understood our own empowerment. And so we made certain that our representatives looked like us. So now when I'm in that same community there in the 1200 block of Drill Avenue, I've had years of persons that didn't even grow up in the community represent that community, and that just challenges me. I mean, at the city council level, that just challenges me. I just say, my goodness, how did we get from a point where we actually made certain that we controlled city council? And I go all the way back. I go back to E.E. Cummins. I go back to Dr. Harvey Johnson and them, that we now will have persons. And I appreciate, Zach Blanchard, I hope he's a great guy, but how does he represent Drill Avenue and Upton? Eric Casello, great guy, but how did they understand the texture and the tenor of that community? And so, when we saw those kind of shifts of political districts, when they saw the removal of political polling places, we saw it happen in our community as a result, as a way to kind of take our power. And our power always was the vote. That was one thing about our district. West Baltimore was always be the last person counted. So that's how we got control of the congressional 7th congressional district, was because of the power we had within that community, starting in 1970 and continued to this day. But they're even chipping at that.
You mentioned Harvey Johnson, Vernon Dobson, makes me immediately think of the Goon Squad and how we worked to get Judge Joe Howard, the first black elected citywide. But then Fox TV come about and they say something about term limits. And I'm like, okay, then they want to reduce, after all of these years, what was that, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, 60, 70 years into this, we still struggling. Somebody gonna say, okay, now you can only stay in office 2 terms. And I'm wondering, I remember, I'm gonna take you back. Do you remember Acorn and Mitch Klein?
Oh, sure.
And they had Question P.
Right.
And some of us drank the Kool-Aid. Question P reduced black representation on the city council. I think we went from 18 down to 14, and it was a 9% reduction in black representation. Every time we get ahead, somebody come in and get us to fall for, and it's always some carpetbagger. They not from here. And they get 1 or 2 of us to drink the Kool-Aid. It's like Jonestown all over again, man.
Well, I would say to you this, and I think it's right that we lift up the Goon Squad, because what they understood, and it really played starting from Harvey Johnson, who understood that we had to use every means possible to achieve our progress, and we had to use legal means as a way of achieving our progress. What has happened, if you look at what has happened,
Willie Adams though in the numbers.
We had to finance it. What has happened is that we were able in our community, because of our grapevine, because of our network, because of our connective tissue, that you did not need as much money because we could say, you are our candidate. And as we put up our candidate, that was a community candidate that had the feeling and the tone and the tenure of the community, so that you could rally around that candidate and could elect that candidate to office. We were able to use the church. But then they came at the church and says, wait a minute, separation of church. We can't now distribute ballots that we once did through the churches anymore, so that we would say, this is our candidate.
That
right?
was deliberate.
Of course it was deliberate. And of course, and so now the byproduct of that is that we now have a system that is controlled by money and media to say these are the leaders. And those are the ones that are able to project themselves in roles and get themselves elected because of money and media.
Did these evangelicals praise the same God that you preach about on Sunday mornings?
No, they've always had a distortion. I mean, that goes already back. I did a back in the day. I did a critique of the moral majority over against the beloved community. The preaching of Martin Luther King as the beloved community, and then the tenets of the moral majority, which is now played out to become mega and all of that. And what we found is that their distortion has always been a distortion. Even the reading of the Bible has been a distortion, where they took out sections that they didn't feel comfortable with, and sections that they wanted to use for us to oppress us. So no, it is not the same understanding of, as James Cone would say, the God of the oppressed. The God is the one that goes out and seek the lost, the least, and to ensure that they are brought into his kingdom. No, it's not the same.
Nat Turner was a preacher. The picture I saw of Nat Turner, he had a Bible in one hand and a sword in the other.
Oh man, Brown down at Hopper's Ferry.
John
you know what I mean?
Brown.
Yeah, I mean, there's always been that messianic thrust. We've kind of somewhat lost that messianic. There you go, messianic zeal. You know, one of the things I would say to you, Donnie, is that Baltimore has always been a place for Black empowerment. You know, in fact, one of the things, as you know, I'm doing the work on the Justice Thurgood Marshall Amenity Center. I want to make certain we make that a national.
Let's talk about that.
We want to make that a national historic site. I make the mantra that Justice Thurgood Marshall should be to Baltimore as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King is to Atlanta, and I do that from the sense of having the federal government make a real investment into Upton, much like what happened on Auburn Avenue in Atlanta, when the federal government, and they made Ebenezer a national site, and then the home of what happened. It then spurred all kinds of development. I believe that could happen there on Division Street and in Upton by bringing the federal government in and making that place a tourist, where tourists come and learn again. And you think about it, not only the economics of it, but our storytelling. When I was young, did take us down to Fort McHenry, and I would sit there and watch them with this big old flag. And I would sit there as a kid, and I walk through these dungeons and walk through these places, and I would be amazed. My goodness. But can you imagine that's the only story told out of Baltimore from a national level? No, we need to tell the story of Black civil rights epitomized by the work of Justice Thurgood Marshall. Let's tell that story. And that's the fight that we find ourselves in now. And I got to commend Congressman Kwesi Mfume, who's leading that charge in Congress. I got to commend Senator Van Hollen, that's leading that charge. I got to commend all the members of the Maryland delegation that supported the legislation for that to happen in the 118th Congress, that will get carried over to the 119th Congress, and we will get that legislation passed. We will have a national historic site there in Upton, there on Division Street, there at a place where people would think is the last, the least, and the lost. We're going to lift up amazing people. And I'm going to tell you something else we're going to do, and you're going to get this scoop. You're getting this scoop right now. You have on that building, you have on that building Henry Highland Garnett. He's a name we cannot never forget. He was a peer of Frederick Douglass, but he also had that same abolitionist zeal. He was also a Methodist minister. You have on that building the name of Justice Thurgood Marshall, man, I just read his Bakke decision. That's almost a lesson. His dissent in Bakke is almost a lesson in Black history, African American history. And then we're going to place, and this is what's breaking. I'll break this on you. We're going to put the name of George L. Russell Jr. on that building. George L. Russell, we cannot forget his role in economics. He was the lawyer that talked to Henry Parks, and took Parks Sausage national. I mean, he took him and made them a company that was on the stock exchange. The first Black company in America came right out of Baltimore. George Russell was the lawyer.
So that's the thing. When we think back to that time, everything was working together. The politician, the church, the businesses, the community, the athletes and entertainers, Harry Belafonte, i.e. Martin Luther King, we all work together. But now we're on so many different pages. They tell me so many Black NFL football players are Republican. I don't care what party you are. Do you give back to where you come from?
Yeah. They
or are we busy dating outside the race and being accepted into other circles? And we forget about Cecil Kirk Recreation Center. You forget about Chick Webb. You forget about Greater Model.
Yeah.
We forget about Easterwood. Thank you to Joel Gamble. I mean, this is 2025, and I got so many questions, and we're going to have to do a part 2 and a part 3.
I know.
But let me ask you this.
Okay.
One other caveat I got to throw in. When Westmore first became governor, or actually in that process, I have advocated then and I advocate now. Baltimore and Prince George is the 23 and 24 in the state in terms of public education. I advocated for a task force to bring attention to our race for the bottom. 2 major Black jurisdictions in Maryland in the race for the bottom. I want something done about it. I don't know what it is. Change the formula, the curriculum, but there's no attention paid. And so, yes, I question Sonia Santalisa and anybody else involved in public education. Yes, I do like a Dr. Andre Bundley. Yes, I do like someone who understands our children, who knocks on doors, who's been in our communities, in our houses, understands what our young people are dealing with. But the question I want to hit you with, and I'll let you close out. I know you can handle 10 minutes by yourself, but
okay.
Do Democrats, what do we do in a 9-1 Democratic city, a 2-1 Democratic state, to become more business oriented? We're not business oriented. The city government chases business away. Businesses move quickly to Baltimore County. We lost Next Act Cinema. Hoodfellas ain't down there no more. Prim and Proper than did some type of okey doke change around. How do we get our politicians? Because I'm all for a damn nonprofit, but I'm about some profit too. And not that nonprofits are not about profit. American Cancer Foundation's CEO make 900, 700,000, whatever. How do we get our businesses thriving beyond funeral homes? Okay, there, I put it out there.
I would say to you, and our progress is going to be incremental, but let's take a victory. A victory was that Morgan State University was able to vouchsafe that they would not allow Towson to take their MBA program.
Yes, they did.
All right. So that's
damn shame they had to do it.
Exactly. So let's take that as a victory. Let's take also as a victory that we have the Earl Graves Business Center. Let's take that as a victory.
Yes.
Let's take also as a victory now with the presidency of Anthony Jenkins, that he's understanding that we've got to have an economic development strategy. Let's take that as a victory. And so what I'm seeing is that we're starting to re-knit a fabric where we're starting to understand that yes, politics plays a role, but it's business, it's economic development that plays the central role in progress. And also what I'm seeing, and I'm going to push back on you on nonprofits because I have a nonprofit, but my nonprofit.
I understand we got a lot of them.
No, but let me tell you this, but I want to push back a little bit. The NFL is a nonprofit. The NBA is a nonprofit. You know,
but they make profit.
Exactly. It's called proper profits. You have to take largesse that comes to you and use that largesse. And I saw this. I say this quickly. I know we got short time.
No, take your time.
I raised $15 million to restore the Justice Thurgood Marshall Amenity Center. I saw from November 22 to December 23 what it meant was the impact of investing $1 million a month in West Baltimore. I saw that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I saw that as it related to I had guys come up, Division Street Landscaping, an amazing business. Gentleman has a returning citizen. He learned behind the walls landscaping and all the horticulture. Man, I hired them. Next thing you know, they was cleaning up the whole neighborhood. You know what I mean? I mean, I looked and I found people knock on my door and they said, hey, I need a job. And he was a young man, he was 22 years old. He became the threader of pipes. That were the pipes that went in for the water system inside, for the sprinkler system. And all he did was sit there, and he was making $37 an hour. We've got to let people know that we've got to invest money in our community in such a way, and nonprofits can do it, but they've got to do it in a measured way to ensure that the money turns over. I had a young lady, she was making sandwiches in McCullough Homes. She was the one that was feeding the people at the cruise. I mean, we've got to be very intentional around how we move our money through our community. And if we are intentional doing that, then we will find that people will have progress. And I would say to you that I would challenge my Democratic friends, I'll challenge my Republican friends, that if you are not intentionally looking at how we are circulating money in the African-American community, you're missing the mark.
I just don't like poverty pimps. People that say, we're going to, not you, not the good people like Diane Bell. And I wanted to tell you, just last night, I invited you to be on her panel.
I know. I got to go to Tony Ferguson services is that same time, but I'm going to come up after I leave there and pay my respects.
So Diane Bell, we're going to ask you that. Now that's my adopted mother.
Oh man,
we're going to ask you right here on this show, Diane Bell, to stick around because he will be coming through. And prayerfully on Saturday, you can meet. You two can begin the conversation. I'll certainly send you each other's number.
Sure.
On this below the new Black Wall Street New Year's Empowerment Summit up at the Sankofa Children's Museum. And I got to tell you, I was blown away at this museum of African cultures, African artifacts everywhere. But I got to tell you, I'm a black man. I'm the Black News. I'm Be More News. I see Harry and Jeanette Weinberg's name on the building. That's fine. But I'm just saying, damn. Anyway, George Russell. I went to school with his son down in Morehouse.
Oh, man. Amazing young man, man.
He's a judge now.
And not only is he a judge, check this out. He's the chief judge on Maryland federal bench. He's the chief judge. That's the first black chief judge. You know, so
I just want to make this point. Gwen reminds us when formerly incarcerated persons come home, since we do star in that prison movie, and they come back to 21216, 21217, 21215, 21205, when people come back, nobody's going to hire them quicker than we will.
Oh, no question.
So,
no question.
Yes, we need all of the jobs we can. Again, I don't mind nonprofits, but I've seen some, we're going to help poor, uneducated, Black people with health challenges and teen pregnancy. Just that storyline. And I, for one, we're sick of it. We are an empowered people. We are victors, not victims. And I just, And some of us get into that thing, oh, I live in Ellings Mills, but I work down in Scientown. We're going to go and save. You ain't saving me. You're saving us. You're helping to save us.
I would say to you that and let me because I think leaders of a beautiful struggle understood exactly the nature of this nonprofit foundation cabal that basically
Diane Bell helped put them on.
Yes, that control how funds are directed, and out of that control the goals and objectives of organizations in local neighborhoods and communities. We can never forget they play a critical role as relates to really addressing how. Keep in mind now, for philanthropy in Baltimore, the philanthropic community gives annually $1.5 billion in Baltimore City, but we don't see the results of that. Now,
where that money at?
That's what I'm saying. That's what they give $1.5 billion.
Where they put it at?
Now, but look at this. Let me tell you this. If you take the collective budgets of Baltimore City government, the collective budget of Department of Social Services, Baltimore City Department of Social Services, you take the collective budget of Baltimore Public School System, and add that up. And that's money that is to empower people, to educate people, to support people. If you add that up, that's better than $6 billion a year spent for people. And the question then becomes, are people being empowered by that $6 billion investment?
As long as you do what some other people find acceptable, because then they start throwing at the church and these nonprofits. You know, they start threatening your charter. Well, you're engaging in politics, and they want to cut your money. You know, it's kind of like a stick up. Either you're gonna do what we tell you to do, or we're not gonna give you the money. You seeing it? Soon as you act like you forgot who gave you that money, then they like, you know, the gangsters. Don't make me call their names.
Oh yeah.
The big time entities headquartered in New York City. They're going to tell you, if you don't do what we tell you to do, we're going to cut your money.
Or they won't give you any. And I see that clearly.
And they whiteball you, because we're not using them negative derogatory terms about black no more.
What I would say to you this, but about business, let me say to you that that I'm seeing, again, I see it from the lens of my work there at Harbor Bank. So I'm seeing a cadre of persons coming in through our small developers program that's acquiring blocks, renovating those, being supported.
I'm gonna get off screen. I'm getting too excited.
Yeah. I'm seeing investment. I'm seeing a restaurant that had one location now moving to 2 locations as we support them. I'm seeing, and let me just trumpet Harbor Bank. One of the roles, and we've got to make certain that we invest more money in that bank. There is not any strategic development going on in Baltimore where Harbor Bank is not the first money in. In Baltimore, when you think about Harbor Point and Harbor Place and all of that, right? Look at where our branch is. Our branch is there. When you think about East Baltimore, EWI, on Wolf Street, where our branch is. When you think now about the development that's happened there in Morgan there at the shopping center, there's a branch there. Why is that? Because we are investing in those communities, and we're making investments that are strategic. And those strategic investments is making change. You go down into the Bio Park. Our branches down there on Baltimore Street. Why? Because we're making strategic investments in those areas. And we've got to learn that this is a way for us to aggregate our dollars. And the unfortunate thing that we do sometimes with banks is we put in $5 and then take out $4. I mean, come on, man. You gotta save money. You gotta put money in so that they can begin to work on our behalf. And so I just think that there's much for us to learn. There's much work for us to continue to do. But I'm still optimistic. You know, when I retired from ministry, I said, the Lord still, I said, I'm retired, but I'm not tired.
From ministry. It's never over. You know that.
I'm retired, but I'm not tired. And then I came back and said, I've been rehired because now I'm freed up to speak up. I'm freed up to at least develop models. One of the things I would say about the financial model that we put together to finance the Justice Thurgood Marshall Center has been replicated in the Upton Mansion. So now we're seeing that financial model being used now by Afro charities to finance their project. And I think we've got to keep doing proof of concepts, proving that our community is communities where you can do good business, but we can also help, we can also empower, we can also educate. But if you do that, that is also good business. I had a young man. This was a young man. Let me tell you this. This was a young man. He was 30 years old. This young man was doing water infrastructure. And he did all of the water connections at the Justice Thurgood Marshall Center. So the lines that went from the city streets into the building, all the water, all the sewer lines, the lines that went from that to this. This was a young man. He's got a multi-million-dollar business. And when they went into that hole, it was all people that looked like you and me. And
that's what it's supposed to be. That's what Maynard Jackson had in Atlanta. He said, "You will not build Hartsfield International if you don't have some black contractors, i.e. Herman J. Russell, etc., involved in this. And not as subs. Doc, they want us to be subs. I ain't no damn subcontractor. I'm a prime.
We are primes. We are primes.
I ain't no sub. They keep giving us, here, take this sub. Take it. Not a slave.
Let me tell you this one final story. I was very intentional. And this is not me. This is how we have to work intentionally. You work together collaboratively. I was able to direct, because I was the owner. I was able to give the prime contract for the construction of the Justice Thurgood Marshall Amenity Center to Mahogany Contractors. Here was a young gentleman out of Cherry Hill, Jeffrey Hargrave. He had been for 30 years a sub, this was his first contract as a general contractor, first contract of this value. And what happened as a result of that? What happened as a result of that? Exactly. Not only that, but what happened was now Whiting & Turner now has made him a partner, a joint venture partner in Henrietta Lacks down there at the hospital. Now he's a prime. We've got to do those things that promote our community.
I ain't waiting 30 years. We can't afford to wait that long.
No,
I'm glad he finally got it, but that's why we voted for a black governor, a black mayor. Because if that political doesn't parlay, translate, transfer into economics, then what are we doing?
Well, the beauty that you have is that you have one of the foremost authorities as a part of your network, Bob DeShields, who could tell you exactly what is necessary and needed as it relates to contracting from the local government and state government and federal government.
And maybe we need to change some of these laws, because, you know, they are out to get rid of the whole MBE program nationally.
Oh, that is going to change. DEI is out the door. You better be IED. You know, I'm going to do it myself, because now they're not going to be this support that's going to come where they say that we have a quota or we have this, and we don't need that anyway. I mean, it's all on competency. It's on quality of service, and
here's the other thing. We have everything we need to be successful.
Yes, you do.
Our ancestors, fresh out of the era of American slavery, saved nickels and dimes. They built Black Wall Street. They built banks. They built black towns. They didn't have a GED. Now we got PhDs, EDDs, MDs, DDs. We've got CEOs. We've broken glass ceilings, but it's like we've become dumber. We have everything we need in order to succeed. God gave us everything we need. And we got to stop this thing about, well, you know, African Americans are not monolithic. Down in the bottom of that slave ship, we were monolithic.
You know, what I would say to you is this, man. This is
We
2025.
got to stop that. I live in Harford County. I live in Carroll County. Okay.
This is 2025, right? And we need to be thankful that we're still alive. But the most important thing is that we should have as a integral part of our mission in 2025 to thrive. We've got to make certain that we as a people thrive in this economy. And here's a key, and you know this intimately. Artificial intelligence is changing the way that we're going to do business. So we've got to be ahead of that curve. And that's why, as you know, we're going to have embedded in the Justice Thurgood Marshall Center training and understanding and connectivity tissue with Dr. Tyrone Tabor in STEM City, so that we can make certain that we are on this curve of artificial intelligence and large machine learning. That is changing the way that we do business. And that's changing the way that everything is happening in our society. And we cannot allow this amazing economic ecosystem to emerge and we not play a role in that. So yes, we've got much to do, but we're still seeking to thrive in 2025.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about how significant, and Dr. Tabor will be at our Black Wall Street Summit, Empowerment Summit on Saturday. I know that he has been pushing your Justice Thurgood Marshall Center tremendously. Of course, Dr. Tabor has an international network. He attracts to his Baya, which is coming up in February, generals, admirals, CEOs of Martin Marietta and defense contractors. He brings STEM people. One of our honorees Saturday is one of his former honorees, Maria Thorpe.
Yes.
Tell me about the significance of having in Baltimore, and this is his 39th year of doing Baya, BEYA.org, Black Engineer of the Year Awards, Baya.org. What is the significance of a Dr. Tyrone Tabor and his wife, Jean Hamilton, and the entire cadre of people there at Career Communications Group?
Wow. Can you imagine that he caught and understood more than almost 40 years ago the importance and significance of STEM? Now it's a common lexicon, but he caught that then and has created a network of amazing network of STEM skills that he has been celebrating for 39 years. Now, here's the other part. Not only does he celebrate excellence, but he's also a portal for persons. There are going to be over 600 people that will get jobs by coming to the Beta conference. And those jobs will be in the STEM area. But here's something, and this is where I tip my hat to him. He, for all the great work that he's doing, all the international sense of it, he says, I'm going to embed myself into Upton. And I'm going to embed myself into the Justice Thurgood Marshall Amenity Center. And we're going to collectively ensure that people have access to this amazing ecosystem that's generated through STEM, through artificial intelligence and large machine learning. What he
that's the hit. That's the hit. Here's a guy who hangs out with who you mentioned earlier, Dave Stewart, richest black man in America, but he has not forgotten Upton.
That's right. That's right.
That's what I'm talking about.
You
ain't got to live in Upton to be a blessing to Upton, but you got to understand the significance of Upton.
Yes. Upton. I mean, see, part of what
Town, Harlem Park, Druid Heights.
Our black community, is seen as a mecca when you go outside of our Baltimore City. People can't believe the history, the legacy, the people, the personalities, the thriving, the things that we have done in the sand towns, in the Marble Hills, in the Uptons, the Druid Heights. They can't believe that. I mean, when I'm telling people, I got Justice Thurgood Marshall and his classmate is Cab Calloway. They going through elementary school together. The reason why we're going to lift up George Russell Jr. Is because he followed Thurgood Marshall's trail. He went to PS 103, then he went to Douglas High School, then he went to Lincoln. Then from Lincoln, he then went to University of Maryland School of Law because Thurgood Marshall had just integrated it. So we've got to realize that everything builds upon each other, and we can't forget from whence we've come, because how are we going to know where we're going to go? And so I would say to you that when you take a person like a Dr. Tyrone Tabor, that is an international personality, and you embed him in a community, when you take a Judge Alexander Williams with his Education, Justice, and Ethics Center, and embed that in the community, when you take a Dr. Stephen Thomas in public health and embed them in the community, when you take a doctor, my man with the violence program, and embed them, when you embed these people in the community, what happens? We remember when we were young, we saw them, we could access them, we could talk to them. That's what made our community strong. You could walk up and talk to Marion, you could talk to Vernon, you could talk to them. Because you could talk to them, you then could be, and you could get some of that connective tissue. That's why it's important that not only do we go back, but we reclaim our neighborhoods, we reclaim our communities, so that we can have a you call it a highway to success.
Hey, look, let me not get in no trouble here. One of our honorees on Saturday is Wanda Gibson Best. Now,
amazing.
We mentioned Upton 15, 20 times now. I don't want no stuff when I see her. You better say something about Wanda Best and Jewel and the work that the Upton Planning Committee has done in historic West Baltimore.
This is
especially
the beauty.
Down there, some of these houses just off Harlem on Harlem Avenue, because we are inundated with vacants.
Oh yeah.
And one thing I love about Wanda is she don't like vacants.
No. But here's the beauty. Here's the beauty about Wanda and her team. They understood the baton toss from Lena Boone. And because they understood the baton toss from Lena Boone, they didn't tear down what Lena Boone was looking to do. They understood that we had to build upon it. And they understood that building upon it meant that we had to say no to some things. So as a result, you can't just come into that community and do anything that you want. You've got to come to that community and be a part of the community plan.
You got to come direct.
Exactly. And that is the strength of what Wanda, Jules, a team have all done, is that they're saying, no, we understand the value of our community. And you're not going to come into our community and do anything that you want. You're going to make certain that you do things that are in accordance with a plan. Now,
and
here's
we
the
gotta
other
also acknowledge Jackie Cornish.
Oh, my Jackie!
And who was the lady before Jackie Cornish?
Oh, that was Maggie Quill. Maggie Quill.
I sat at her table once.
Oh, my
I now
goodness.
realize I sat at a giant's table.
Man, she's out of Tuskegee, man. She was brilliant.
Gangster.
Very much so. But here's the thing. So yes, when I look at the Upton Planning Committee and the work that they're doing, they are building upon the work of Lena Boone, and because they're building upon it, we're building something in West Baltimore that is going to be talked about all across the country. And I commend them. I support them. I trumpet their sense. I mean, right now they're now restoring Perrin Mitchell's home. That's legendary.
2 blocks from here.
Yes. I mean, those things. With Pennsylvania Avenue, making certain that we have a Black Arts District, making certain that we do those things in that community that uplift it. And we still got some challenges. That community is not invested in like a Harbor Point and Harbor East, but it should be. And I think everybody says there that we're ready for it, and everybody understands that we're prepared for it.
We've been ready for it back when Lena was alive. They knocked down the Royal Theater. That was a little before I was politically involved. A lot of people were looking for the Royal Theater to be rebuilt. But just in case you don't know, William Penderhughes has been taken over officially by Salvation Army. Mm-hmm. And they plan to do a whole new center right here on Fremont and Lawrence, just opposite the Avenue Market. And if we could ever get the Avenue Market, like our house, like Northeast Market, because I swear it's the least funded of the public markets.
Yeah.
Baltimore City gonna have to do better. We're tired of being the last one served. You can have all the black elected officials in the world, but if they can't fix Lafayette Market, that's what we called it, right?
That's right.
And fresh fish. Fresh fish used to be in that market.
Yeah, no question. They have to do that, and I think again, let me just say to about the Upton Planning Committee and Wanda Best is that they have taken that baton and they're running their leg of the race very, very well, and they're to be commended for that. I'm seeing younger talent come in because they're causing the talent in the community to realize how do you operate in a civic manner. So the fact that they have their open meetings and the fact that they have these open sessions, they are also teaching and training how you do civic engagement in a very real way. But again, we've got to be advocates for more investment in West Baltimore.
No boundaries. Big ups to Aisha. Ashia Parker.
Ashia Parker, yes.
She's put the only Brussels sprouts, okra, carrots, cucumbers, tomatoes, the only fresh vegetables between Lexington Market and Mondawmin.
Yeah.
At No Boundaries little market inside the Avenue Market. Is only open 3 days, but we need to expand that because we need fresh fruits and vegetables every day.
Yeah. I think, and I've seen some of the planning that there is an expansion plan for the Avenue Market.
We've been waiting a long time,
I know we have, but I think things are moving in a very positive way. And
why you don't run for mayor?
Man, you know what? I think there is a role for
you are running for mayor.
I think there's a role for
Brandon this is second term. He only get what is down to 2 terms now.
I
see Cohen laying in the gap. I ain't putting you out there. I'm just saying we need to get our bench ready.
Yeah, but I'm an old man now, right? And so I like to be the old man that shares wisdom. The old man that tells the stories, the griot.
We tired of just average Democrat. I want somebody that's business minded.
Hey
you
man,
are business minded. We need business minded people. Our water bill is the highest in the country.
Oh man, my goodness! Don't even mention that.
Yes, I am. Water bills in Baltimore through the roof.
Man, and people are losing their properties around those kinds of things. I mean, that is shameful. That is shameful. But what I would say to you is this: when I look at David Bramble and the work that he's doing and the investment that he's making, I'm saying that's a young man that could live anywhere.
He lives right around the corner.
Because that's how can you be a shepherd unless you get shepherd sheep smell on you?
Big ups to Brandon Scott. Big ups to Brandon Scott for giving him the bounce pass. And I couldn't believe the white hatred that came out of nowhere. Nobody's touched the harbor in 20 years. White developers had the same opportunity to go down there as did he. And as soon as he jumped out there, all of this vitriol.
It did.
Out of nowhere.
Because.
Why?
Because of what you said about Black Wall Street. Once they saw you accumulating capital, that's when you became the point of attack. The blessing about this young man is
these are Democrats. These are white Democrats.
I know it. But the blessing about this young man is that
talk about Trump. I'm just saying, we live in a 9-1 Democratic town, and we get treated as bad as they say Trump is. That's all I'm saying.
But let's lift him up. Not only is he prepared to do the Inner Harbor project, you need to look at his portfolio that he has downtown Baltimore City. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Princeton educated, nationally recognized.
Exactly. Access. See, and that's what we have to have.
You don't even need the harbor project.
No. That's a statement. He's doing that as a statement.
Yes.
In fact, the headache might not even been worth the statement, but he's doing it for the statement.
You gotta love that. City college kid.
Well, you know that I should have put my ring on so that you've seen that.
I thought you went to Poly.
No, sir. I
bad.
came out of city, man, and just elected to the Hall of Fame. I'm so thankful for that.
Any final thoughts, Dr. Hathaway?
Man, yes, man. We're in 2025, man. 2025, as a community, we should have as our mantra, we are going to thrive. We're going to thrive in 2025. And we thrive by working together, by praying together, by ensuring that we support one another, by ensuring that we stay on point as relates to the needs of our community. And we never forget from whence we've come. Because once you forget from whence you come, you won't know when you make it. You only know when you make it by the people that you bring with you. And I just want to say, I want to commend you, Donnie, for the work that you're doing. You're keeping our feet to the fire, because we have to have media be that third eye that keeps us accountable to the reality of our blessing, which is that God has blessed us with the melody to be a proud people. James Brown said it long ago. Say it loud. I'm Black and I'm proud.
How can people get in touch with you? I'm sure Diane Bell and others would love to communicate with you.
Yeah, the best way is through email. Hathaway@belovedcorp.com. AHATHAWAY @beloved BELOVED corp CORP.com. And just get right to me and I'll get right back to you.
Good deal. Let's go on out on prayer and you'll be the final word. But after your prayer, you got to say good morning, world. Okay.
I sure will. God our Father, we thank you just for an opportunity just to have a healthy conversation, to allow you to pour into us as we pour out to others. But most importantly, we ask that you empower us so that we can empower others. We're in a time when we need the light of the world to shine bright in us, but also to shine bright in others, so that we can be one, the people of God, the people of love, the people of power. We pray this prayer in your name. Amen. Good morning, world. It's our time to shine.